Tonight, tonight, the world is full of light.
For those of you who saw my Oscar review for the original West Side Story, you'll know I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I appreciated the technical aspects of the film and enjoyed some of the music, but thought a lot of the dancing and acting felt too hokey, which made it feel like a product of the time. Plus, the racism surrounding it and the rape scene didn't really help things out either. Now we got this new version by Steven Spielberg, so it's time to check out to see if this version can captivate me, or if it also just falls flat. Now the story here is really just Romeo and Juliet. Two star-crossed lovers from different families have to find a way to be together despite their house's strong protests against the other. You've heard this story a million times before, so do I really need to go on? No? Perfect. Then let's start talking about some good stuff, shall we? I actually really like the dancing this time around. It's fast, it's flashy, there's actual weight behind it this time, and when you mix it all together, you get these amazing sequences where it blends the cinematography and the editing just right. They're truly fantastic things to behold in this version. The acting, for the most part, is also really good and isn't over the top or hokey as I thought it was in the original. The only character who doesn't really work out is the one played by Ansel Elgort. And no, it's not just because of the allegations, but it's because he's so bland in the film. He tries to be this quiet loner type, but also act like he's completely in love, and the two personalities just don't mix very well together. Now, to his credit, he's not awful, and he can sing. So it's not a terrible performance. It just doesn't stack up to a lot of the others. I also have to give huge props to Steven Spielberg, who once again proves he's just born to be a director. Everything in the film, technical-wise, is perfect. The costumes, the lighting, the sets, the cinematography. When you blend all that with Steven Spielberg's camera work, it's all just gorgeous to look at. For me, however, the problem is that I really don't like this story and its characters, especially that of one of the gangs. They tried to make one of the gangs this kind of misunderstood bunch of kids, and it works for the most part, but, and I had this big problem in the original as well, you got this rape scene at the end. And it puts a terrible taste in your mouth. It is just so poorly executed, and I wish they had left it out here, or at least changed it to be something else completely, because any goodwill that the movie sets up for these characters completely goes out the window after that. Like, I don't care about them anymore. At the end, when the gangs are kind of coming together, I'm like, no, fuck those guys. Those guys are fucking assholes. I don't want them to have this moment of harmony. Fuck them all. Not only that, but I just don't feel a lot of the emotions that the movie wants me to feel. The romance? It's whatever. That push from the two families for the two of them to stay away from one another. I mean, we've heard that story done so many times before that it really needed to do it in a unique or interesting way for it to have made an impact on me. And since this is almost a beat-for-beat remake of the original, you kind of lose that punch of surprise. So no, even towards the end when it was supposed to be this big tearjerker, I just didn't feel it whatsoever. Now, all that being said, I do think there are elements in this film that surpass the original. First, as I mentioned, the dancing I think definitely has more weight behind it. The colors, the lighting I think is far superior. Though that's not really a fault of the original, it is just an old film at this point in time. And the one person that I do think far surpasses the original is Mike Feist. As the head of this American gang, he took that role, which in the original almost came off as goofy and silly, and really made it something more here, where you actually took it seriously. You don't really agree with the mindset behind all his actions, but you at least understand where he's coming from. And I really honestly would have liked to have seen the story told from his point of view. Again, we've heard this story told so many times before, and because this is an almost beat-for-beat remake, you're really not getting any surprise in terms of its story. So how cool would it have been if you take the story and you look at it from somebody else's point of view? I think that would have been really cool. I know there's no way they would have done that, but it's just hopeful thinking on my part, and yeah, you can take that for what it's worth. Okay, so my wild fantasy aside, I give West Side Story a 3.5 out of 5 with the recommendation to rent it. I think everyone will enjoy this movie just fine. But the impact of the original, I think, is gonna be remembered more despite a few improvements that this one did. And with this song and dance out of the way, we can finally put a wrap to my reviews. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It's been such a blast doing all of these reviews. And hey, it's not over, because tomorrow I've got my final Oscar predictions. So come on back at least one more time for that video. Until then, everyone, stay safe out there and have a good one.